Hello, my friends. I hope you're having a wonderful day. My name is Iris, aka Phoenix, and I'm here trying to introduce myself today. That sounds pretty simple, but it's not for me. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to read because if not, we're gonna go down rabbit holes that it's gonna take forever. But, anyways. It's not very simple for me to say who I am because who I am right now, it's kind of like a partnership between me, adult me, and my inner child. And it's difficult to express who we are when we're constantly redefining ourselves. Like I said, I created a few pointers and we'll see how much I can stick to them. Because my mind can connect things very, very crazy. One word can just take me down. Anyways, I have been debating quite a bit about creating this video. It's just this constant procrastination behind I don't have equipment, I am not technologically savvy, and I don't know how, just any excuse that we can make, just to hide behind comfort walls. And the truth is that I am still very much terrified of what others may think, of the judgment and criticism and the ridicule that comes with exposing yourself. And I'm always asking myself, how much am I willing to sacrifice? Especially now that I feel that I just recently freed myself from a lot of that inner judgment. So how much am I willing to put in the line for people's approval? And I'm still battling this constant desire to be pleasing, to be the people pleaser. And I could say that I was trained very well on doing that and being the support for everybody else. So the response is no, I'm not willing to diminish myself anymore. I'm no longer willing to sacrifice my peace and my sanity for the approval of people that really have never understood me, and I'm not willing to just pretend anymore. I just can't. It's hard to be excited about conversations that just lead you nothing, really. So, back to myself. You could say that I am the fool. I am a person that when I feel that I have no place to move anymore, I'm not afraid to just take the jump into complete unknown, yes, I do crave constancy, I crave security, but not if the price is my peace or my sanity. So I may not know what's going to happen, but I'm gonna just jump in and call it an adventure as I head into not knowing what's coming next, where I'm going, what's gonna happen, completely new environments, and I put myself out there, and I push very hard to accomplish things on my own because it is difficult for me to ask for help. But now I found out that when I am vulnerable at saying, hey, I have no idea what the heck I'm doing, and I just cannot figure out what next step to take next. People rise to the occasion because being vulnerable allows people to be vulnerable too and say, it's okay, we're all in this same shithole. But we want to make it nice. We want to make it exciting. And I mean, life should not be so freaking dreadful. It's cold in here. It said it was going to be 78 degrees, and it's definitely not. But anyways, I've been in survival mode for a long, long time. Just trying to make it through the day, and survival trains you very differently because your security really depends on your ability to be flexible and adaptable and to think on your feet, and when you're standing on shaky ground, it's kind of impossible to make plans because you need a constant ground to be able to make a plan, and you know where you're standing, where you're gonna start. But when you don't have that, then really the only thing you're thinking is, how am I gonna make it not to collapse? Because if you collapse, you're done. And literally, unless you know how to freaking bounce and learn how to start swaying with the ground, freaking, it's hard. And I used to be good at it, even though I would collapse. I mean, I often collapse, but I wouldn't stay down. I mean, the anger that grows inside, at just against ourselves, because you're like, heck, how is it that I cannot keep it up, but that is the fire that drives you to get up and be like, I have this. I'm not gonna let anything keep me down, and scrapes and busted nose and everything. Here we go again. And shit, throw your arms up, and say, gee, this is a ride. And to have an attitude that is like, fear, you have no power over me. No power. And I have survived. And lately, I have found myself able to thrive. Even though my day to day is a complete unknown, societal standards, I'm all the way at the bottom, baby. But I can no longer betray myself. I realized that it wasn't other people that was betraying me, but it was me betraying myself for them. And they probably didn't even know that I was doing that, but they couldn't appreciate it because no one understands me or even try to understand me. They were just very quick at this, this is what you have to do. And I just cannot do it anymore. I cannot sacrifice inner peace just to have noise around me. And the truth is, I love my solitude because it is a open door. It's it's just an invitation to a magical world, you know. And who are you gonna invite to tea? I used to leave the door open for kind of like the worst critic, the inner critic, you know. Every little voice that I have ever heard has been implanted in here. And I allowed it to rule my life. You know, ooh, they scream nice and loud, you know. And that is the first battle. To be able to hear them without allowing them to affect you emotionally. Because, you know, we try to placate it. It's like, no, stay away. But the truth is that we need to hear it. Because if you hear it, then you're able to discern the part of you that you were able forced to hide in order to get approval from someone. You know, that nasty voice that you hear, and either his, her, it's just, you know the pronoun, you know the one that's screaming in your head, putting you down all the time. You even know how the tone of voice it has, you know, and that's the one you have to start hearing. And what, you know, it is very repetitive. It's like ruminating on one thought or one hurt, and it just plays it and plays and plays it over and over again. You have to learn to not hear the voice that is saying you do this or don't do, but the child that heard it. You know, a child that had to learn how to morph himself, herself, in order to survive a situation, in order to be loved. And now it's your turn to love that part of you, to give it kindness and respect, you know, because all this that is screaming, in a way, is trying to protect you, to keep you safe, and even if it's in a very twisted way, you know, I mean, it is incredibly cruel most of the time, and it basically wants to keep you within, you know. It's like, if you do this, they're gonna love you and you're gonna be safe, and it's very hard to let go of that. But you have to be able to let go of the emotional baggage, you know, that is the resistance to yourself, the desire to dominate that voice and say, shut up, you know. But it's really not the approach, because, I mean, personally, I tried a lot of the trying to shut it down, try to suppress it and depress it, and in reality, the only thing I accomplished is myself being depressed. Where, you know, what's the point of life if all you have is this evil thing screaming at you that you're not worth it? And, you know, that is not your voice. That was a voice that you heard as a child, you know, that was either critical or demeaning or controlling, whatever it was, that drove you to hide yourself, to, you know, to be quiet, to be everything that they ask you to be. Just in the name of love. In the name of love. And when I say walk along with those inner voices, it's not this screaming negative voice, but the child that heard it. The child that you were forced to hide, to make it. And that child is scared, you know. And you need to love it without constraining it even more. Yes, then you have to regret. We are having to reparent ourselves. But be curious about what are that inner child's dreams and desires, what makes them happy, but more importantly, what are their fears. And the fears, you're gonna get them out of that voice and the judgment of that voice. But to be willing to defend that part of you, even from your own mind, because the mind is tricky and cruel, and it might be playing a part, but a lot of times we have to learn to overcome it. And I don't know what my future holds, because I always have a hard time with societal norms. The cookie cutter mentality is difficult for me because I am incredibly unique. And it is hard for me to bow down to rules that do not make sense. And when the ones that are screaming for you to obey them are such hypocrites because they don't obey them. And the standards that they place on us are shifting standards that, you finally accomplish it, and it's like, oh, now there's this other little thing, and you are not enough. And it's a never-ending story. So I was never very good at containing my inner child, and for many, many years, I tried to keep her under lock and key, but she always managed to get out, and fill my mind with, oh my goodness, look at that, it's wonderful, and exciting. But every time she came out, the ridicule I received, it will just really destroy me. And I will turn to my inner child and be, you're the cause of my problems. It would be so freaking hard if you wouldn't come out. But tell me why in the world are we trying so hard to kill those parts that are so full of excitement? That point at beauty and believe in magic, and it screams life is worth living, for that performance role we have to play to make others happy, which we never do, because you can never make anybody else happy. You can never change somebody else, and that took me many, many years to figure out. No matter how much you want to better someone else's life, because you can see, how simple little changes they need to do, and they could truly enjoy their lives. But if they don't want to, you can turn purple in your face if you want to. That, and nothing's going to happen. And it's gonna not only make you bitter and resentful to people for not making the effort. So I had to learn that the only person I can change is me. And to change me, I had to do the inner walk, and just I am choosing peace, and my peace fills me with inner joy. And yes, I had to say goodbye to a lot of people, but it was them or me. And I don't know, it felt that I was constantly giving, and they wouldn't even make the effort to try to see me for who I was, you know. Um, but anyways, this was supposed to be just an introduction. But anyways, if you're out there and watching, hey, put in the comments. These videos are gonna be long. I am a slow speaker. In fact, I do slow everything. But I tried to do pointers this time, and that's why I was looking down. Do you like that? Maybe I'll make another video where I let you see what it is to go down the rabbit holes of my mind. And you can tell me which one do you like best. But I hope you join me next time as we continue to explore how to be in peace within, and find your inner joy. Especially in these times that are so chaotic, and that everything is screaming. Look at the differences between one another, because it's the world against you. And you can concentrate on all the problems, or you can concentrate on being happy with yourself, feeling proud of yourself. So till the next time, I hope you have a magnificent day. And as a little challenge, I want you to look around today and find something, that it's either beautiful or something that surprises you, and try to capture as much detail as you can of it, and tell someone, tell someone about it. As excited or as much feeling as you can put into it. Make them feel what you felt in that moment. And if you're really daring, maybe you do it to a stranger, in grocery line or something crazy like that, and then just wish them a wonderful day. And pay attention to how you feel as you tell this story, and what is the reaction of the listener. And maybe you can share in the comments. I have found that it's very uplifting, and a lot of times I do it at my own expense. Hey, I'm a goof, let me tell you about it. But as the day goes, it replays in my mind, and it just keeps filling me with feel good vibes. It's like, you know what, I made someone smile today, and their smile makes me smile, and maybe we spread it around, we can make the world a better place. So until next time, goodbye my friends, and see you. Bye.